Montevideo-based filmmaker Samuel Hathaway gives us a look at his first film, Once Upon a Whitsun, all filmed in southwest Minnesota. He also gives us some behind-the-scenes insights on the process of developing a film.
So for my first project, I was inspired by some of the folk traditions that I heard in rural Canada. And as I was writing some of this story, I realized that also it had a lot of the themes that I saw growing up in rural Minnesota. It was small town people. It was rural people doing larger than life things to save their community and save their town. And even some of the landscapes I saw in my head, I realized were from southwestern Minnesota. And so as I was developing the project, I realized that Montevideo, southwestern Minnesota, was really the place where I needed to be to make the project. The film itself takes place in World War II in rural Canada. There's an old French-Canadian man and an old English-Canadian man who hate each other's guts. And at the beginning of their film, their wives die in a train crash. And the train, it turns out, was also carrying German POWs. And so it starts rumors that perhaps there was a Nazi sympathizer that caused the crash to allow German POWs to escape. And so it starts a Nazi witch hunt in the town. But the themes in the film were about finding understanding, even though someone is your enemy, finding a common ground, and common heroes, people in small towns that do larger-than-life things. And so I made a promo trailer.
If you need anything, let me know.
It's on me, boys.
Stoke on guitar playing the perennial favourite, the Anti-Fenian song. And I'll tell you, subjects, that now it seems you've gone from Irish religious fanatics to German ones, because this Nazi fanaticism is nothing if not cultish, one might almost say religious. Of course, with the pain and hurt of recent wars fresh in our minds, we should question ourselves and our motives before we start making wild assumptions about our enemy. But I think religious fanaticism is hardly a stretch here. Come, let us reason together. Think of their swastika, their perverted cross of faith, Herr Hitler, their godlike vigor, their ritual salute, their air of superiority, of righteousness. And what should we do, subjects? Idly stand by? No, I say we shall fight. And I tell you, subjects, what England has done before, Canada can do with the King's help. For the only thing that will stop the Nazis now, indeed the only thing that has ever stopped fanatics, is a good hard dose of reality. Even now, Nazi troops goose-step across Europe, arms and legs flailing, striking out at communists, Jews. And now, a Nazi sympathizer could be in our beloved Canada. And what shall we do, subjects? How do we find this worm in our king's apple? Open your eyes. Has a Jew been mocked? Has a communist been spoken ill of? These are precious clues. Because a Nazi, you see, cannot help himself. Hate is in his blood. If one of those poor blokes passed a Nazi's path, he'd be struck down on the spot. And then by his fruit shall we know him. Oh, courage, my lads. We shall find these Nazis and smoke them out. We will crush them without mercy and expel them from our king's lands. Of course, if you hear German being spoken by a gaunt man in a dreary black coat, he's probably just a Mennonite. But all others must be crushed. We must fight, lads, we must fight.
Sie diese verdammten Erkennungsmarker? Oh. Ich bin Nixie. Sehen Sie über die endlos Wildnis von diesem gottverlassenen Land. Auf diesem Kostüm. Eingesogen von der Gnade eines beförderten Raben. Sie fragt alles.
You boys need a hand?
Yes, we would be grateful.
Where are you boys from?
Not far.
So that was my promo trailer, and you'll notice that I was able to have a small acting part myself, so it really allowed me to fulfill all my loves in all parts of filmmaking. And it was all filmed in southwestern Minnesota using artists to make, local artists to create props for the project. The local letterpress, A to Z letterpress in Montevideo made newspaper props. I had a local wood artisan do some antiqued wood crafts for the project. And so it was just a great collaborative effort. We're using this to start a new film company, The Art of Many. It's a new collaborative production company, and you can check us out online.